Errol from Pompano Beach. I met Errol this week and his lovely girlfriend, and I'm gonna tell you, you two were just a pleasure to speak with at the convention. In case you guys don't know, we were partying all weekend in Atlanta, but we were also learning and networking and having fun. So we don't just get together and party, but there's nothing wrong with having fun. And y'all gotta forgive me for being a little ghetto. I just ate some oatmeal, and I think I have oatmeal on my teeth or something, and I don't want to be, you get self-conscious when you're like talking online. You probably should get the oatmeal off your teeth before you go live, right? So now you know how unprofessional I can be sometimes. Justin, Claudia, I see you. Kendall Green, good to see you. Kendall and Karen out of New York City, very nice. Shauna's in the chat. Shauna in the chat will answer any questions that you have, especially for those of you in the Black Business School that have any questions or concerns or anything going on that we can help you with. All you have to do is, let me give you the email, write it down. If you have any questions about anything we're doing in the Black Business School, you can email support@theblackbusinessschool.com. That's support@theblackbusinessschool.com. We have a world-class support team that will take good care of you and make sure that you are good and well taken care of. Our number one priority is to make sure all of our students are 100% happy. And not only does the Black Business School charge you literally 1/100th of what you paid to go to college, but we also give you a better education because we are Black wealth specialists. We focus specifically on the needs and issues in the Black community when it comes to economics. We have the world's first and world's only Black financial therapy department, where we have the best Black therapists, period. They come in to help to figure out what psychological barriers are keeping us from building Black wealth. And you'd be amazed by what we found. Some of these individuals ended up coming to the convention this weekend. If you missed the All Black National Convention, it was amazing. I challenge anybody who didn't attend the convention to just ask anybody on the street what they thought about the convention. And I promise you, if they say it was terrible and you didn't learn anything and it's just like these other corny conventions, then you shouldn't come. But if you did go to the convention, I hope that you will, in the chat, let everybody know how good it is. I think this is really important in terms of establishing trust, because there are a lot of people who don't trust Black businesses. I'm just being honest with you. You trust white folks more than you trust Black people that love you. And that's really tough to work through because everyone wants to believe that the Black business owners are scammers, but they rarely say anything about white businesses that are just, really like charging 100 times more money and don't care anything about the community, won't even hire Black people. In fact, actually, since we're talking about Black economics, that was one of the interesting debates when you were talking about what happened with Coach Prime going to Colorado. Colorado does not hire Black professors. They only bring Black people in if you're playing a sport, typically. You can be a student. They have a few Black students for sure and a couple of Black professors. But if you look at who they hire when they're looking for smart people, they don't look at Black people as smart people. When they want to hire people who can dribble basketballs and throw footballs, that's when they go after the Black guy. But when they want to hire their professors and their scholars, they go after white people, Indian people, Asian people, stuff like that, because we've been kind of stereotyped. And so one of the points that I made, and I know these points made people mad because it confuses them. They don't understand how I can admire Coach Prime like I do, but still say this. But I said, think about this. Colorado and the folks in Colorado did not want anything to do with Deion Sanders 2 or 3 years ago. They never would have hired him in a million years. They hired him. The only place that gave him a chance was an HBCU. Did y'all know that Jackson State was the only place that would hire him? And so they took a chance on him. And when they took a chance on him, as soon as he got good enough for white folks, then white folks said, oh, wow, that boy can really coach. We'd like to have that guy here, right? And this is, and I know it's a thorn in people's sides because I know some people disagree. And I think sometimes these nuanced conversations are a little bit hard for people where they can't understand how you can support Coach Prime and still say something like that. But because I have a Deion Sanders jersey on my wall, I really love this guy as an athlete, but I think also I love you more, and I know I love you more than I love any celebrity, and I think it's important for us as Black people to really understand this, so you'll understand the dynamic that causes Black wealth to decline and deteriorate. So another thing I wanted to hit on, and actually, before I do that, I want to just say hi really quickly to Natasha Phoenix and Kevin Brooks. I see you from Maryland. Aisha Verzi, good to see you, Aisha. Oh, thank you, Aisha. I didn't see you at the convention, Aisha. I assume you were there. Were you there virtually? Because I would have gave you a hug. Anyway, let's see. El Haj. Let's see. I see you, Alfred from Mississippi, and I see Casa. CASSA. I don't see the whole name though. I'm sorry, from Raleigh. Let's see. Otis McDonald, good to see you. Good to see you, RP, and from Fort Lauderdale, and everybody else is here. All right, so here's one thing I want to start off with, since it's virtual. Okay, that's why. Okay, that's what it is. All right, great. And yeah, so Denise says, I missed the conference this year, but I purchased my ticket for the 2024 yesterday. Yeah, so if you want to, just so you know, I want to give you guys just a heads up on the convention. A couple things you should know. You're the insiders. Number one, the convention will be in Chicago next year. So we're gonna pick a safe part of Chicago. It's not, don't worry. I know you have stereotypes on it. Chicago's a great city. I've been here for years. We're gonna pick, we already know where we want to be. And then number two, the capacity is limited. We're limiting the number because for budgetary reasons, just because we want to make sure we stay within our cost constraint. We don't like to live above our means because we don't take money from big corporations, and we don't take money from the government. So Democrats and Republican parties can't sponsor our convention. So what that requires is that we have to pay for this ourselves. It's very difficult, but we get it done. And so what we're doing is we limit. We want a conference. We don't want a massive blowout convention with thousands of people. We only want high quality people that really care about the mission. We only want serious people that really want to seriously connect with other like-minded people that want to actually build, that understand the core values. Core values are things like Black love. We don't have time for gender wars and Black men and Black women hating each other. Black family. You have to appreciate the importance of the family as a key to our economic strength. Also things like Black people being psychologically and physically healthy. As you remember, if you were at the convention, you saw we had a lot of health experts there that were there concerned about your physical and mental health. And then also you have to care about things like education and wealth, right? And so if you align around these values and you're serious about that, then this is the place for you. If you're just there to have fun or to have a big festival, we're not a convention. We're not really a festival. We use the word convention, but actually a conference is more appropriate. So we're limiting the number to about 600 people. And just so you know, we have more than 600 people there this year. So we will sell out. And we just, because we don't want something that's going to get out of control, and we don't want a lot of chaos. So anyway, you can get your passes at an early bird price, 50% off. You can go to allblacknationalconvention.com. That's allblacknationalconvention.com to lock in your spot. And if you're not sure, just look for a testimonial online or talk to somebody who was there. And I guarantee you, I had a hard time. I couldn't find anybody who wasn't just moved by the event, by the experience. It's that good. So anyway, and if you were there, say something in the chat so others will believe you, so I don't have to keep on trying to explain it to people who just think that Black people can't do stuff first class. Everything we do is first class. That's how we operate. That's how we roll up in here. All right. So let me start off with a financial, since we're doing Stock Market Tuesdays, and I'm gonna jump into a few things today, namely what's going on with Bitcoin. Bitcoin's been going crazy. Also, the stock market is doing really well right now. There are some economic concerns you should pay attention to, though, and I'm going to also give you a stock or two that I believe in right now based on current economic conditions. First thing, how many of you saw that interesting conversation about whether or not you'd rather have $500,000 or dinner with Jay-Z? Did anybody see that discussion kind of going on online and kind of chime in? If you did, then let me just say this. I took a poll, and actually 95% of you agree that the money is more valuable than having dinner with a rapper. And that whole conversation honestly surprised me a little bit, because I just really didn't think that anybody would ever actually think that having dinner with a rapper would be more valuable than $500,000. Now, if Jay-Z was going to give you $1 million or give you, $1 million worth of contacts, like let's say he gave you contacts, and let's say that you are a filmmaker and he connects you with the CEO of Warner Brothers, and they take your film and they make it into a blockbuster movie, then that might make sense, right? And so I'm not saying Jay-Z himself isn't worth millions of dollars as a member of your network. But one thing I want you to pay close attention to is that one of the wealth drainers in the community, in my opinion, is this thing that I call celebrity worship. Nielsen did a study where they found that they study Black people. By the way, they study you like rats in a lab to see what products you'll buy and what can persuade you to buy them. And I'm going to tell you what Nielsen said in their study, so you'll just kind of know what you're dealing with, what the expectations are of you based on how outsiders evaluate your culture. The way they described Black people basically was very simple. They said Black people pretty much worship anything a celebrity says, more so than other people. If you think about it, if you look at, say, the white equivalent of a Jay-Z, who might be, I don't know, let's say it's a Brad Pitt or something like that, he does not have as much influence in the broader white community as a Jay-Z has in the Black community. Like if the president was saying, I want to meet with somebody from the Jewish community who represents the Jewish community, they wouldn't pick, some actor or somebody who runs a Hollywood studio. It would typically be somebody who's maybe it's someone who owns a major studio, or maybe it's somebody who is heavily involved with the Anti-Defamation League or something like, or some prominent attorney. But it wouldn't be like, okay, this is our favorite singer, so she's going to represent our community. The other communities don't really do that. Not to put them on a pedestal, but that's what we. And the reason I think that we give disproportionate amounts of respect and admiration to celebrities is because rappers, basketball, and football players are kind of the only people in the Black community, as far as Black men, who are allowed to succeed beyond a certain level. If Jay-Z were trying to make rockets to Mars like Elon Musk, he wouldn't have gotten off the ground. He wouldn't be that prominent in the community. There are many, many rocket scientists in your community that you'll never, ever hear about. If Jay-Z were trying to start Amazon like Jeff Bezos, he probably wouldn't have been able to raise the billions of dollars that Jeff Bezos needed to build Amazon. If he were trying to do what Bill Gates did and become famous with computers, be a nerdy guy who can just get you to buy his software, chances are you would not know him at the level that you know him now. So Jay-Z, it's just a reality. It's not a bad thing, but one of the things I want to warn you about, anybody who even thought for a second that dinner with a rapper would be worth even $50,000 of your time, I encourage you to be very careful about the vast amounts of celebrity worship that exists in our community. I've had dinner with some of these rappers. I have never had dinner with Jay-Z, but I spent a lot of time with Russell Simmons, and he knows everybody. Russell knows everybody. That letter I wrote to President Obama in 2013, Russell got all the celebrities to sign it. Jay-Z and Beyonce didn't sign. I said, why didn't Jay-Z sign too? I mean, with Chris Rock signed, Will and Jada signed, a lot of people signed it. Even Justin Bieber and the Kardashians signed it out of respect for Russell. They don't care nothing about me. And I said, why didn't Jay-Z and Beyonce sign it? He said, man, I can't get Jay to do nothing. And I think it's probably because Jay's just overwhelmed. Jay gets a lot of people asking him for things. And I totally get that. There's no ill will with that. But I will say, though, that it's not what it's cracked up to be. I told you guys about last year, Kanye West called me during the All Black National Convention because he heard about what we were doing and wanted to know more. I sat and talked to him for a good 10 hours during the convention, and the conversation did not lead to anything tangible that allowed me to get things done. And so think about this. This man has all this money, hundreds of millions of dollars. He's still rich, even though he lost his Adidas deal. But not one single thing came out of that discussion that I'm able to bring to you and say, we now have a building because of Kanye. We now have infrastructure because of Kanye. We now have our convention's going to be, this much better because of Kanye, or we're going to have these educational materials distributed because of Kanye, or I can create 10,000 jobs because of Kanye. I can't do that because me and him don't think alike. We don't think the same. He'll spend his money on whatever he spends it on. That's his money. I wasn't there to get his money. And the reality, though, is, and this is what I'm saying to you, this is why dinner with a rapper 9 times out of 10 is not even worth $50,000, is because it doesn't typically lead to anything constructive that you can build your life around or build a community on. Unfortunately, rap is mostly flash. And the difference between, say, that industry versus what we might do at the convention is that we're not interested in flash. We want to see substance. So, for example, here's a more productive conversation with a real life person who's not a celebrity that I had at the All Black National Convention. I spoke with a sister named Queen Thais. I don't know if you know Queen Thais. She was at the convention. She runs a homeschool network. And so I said, okay, I would like for you to talk with a team member of mine by the name of Chanel, who's a member of the Hebrew Israelite community. Because I just so you know, I have tremendous respect for the Hebrew Israelite community, Nation of Islam, stuff like that. And the reason that those are the productive conversations is because those people are builders. Those people are builders. I'm not trying to say that Jay-Z is a bad person. Don't think this. This is not what I'm getting at. I promise you. But it's that I am a person who sees substance. I'm not interested in flash. When I was on the phone with Kanye, I said, I don't care how famous you are. I don't care that everyone knows you. I don't care about your ego. Stop that. Like, are we going to get something done or not? And that creates tension. You don't talk to Kanye like that because he's a very proud man. And but I'm like, okay, what's the point here? I've got important work to do. I'm sorry. I know you still have more you want to tell me, but I have to get downstairs and talk to the important people in my life, because these are the people who help me raise the hundreds of thousands of dollars required for me to have this convention. So I cannot tell them I'm not delivering for you on our infrastructure because I'm sitting on the phone chatting with a celebrity. Right. So what I'm saying to you, Black, in my view, this is my 2 cents. I think that instead of the because a lot of y'all are really doing the work. Like, in fact, give me a yes. Say something in the chat if you're doing the work. Say something in the chat if you are raising strong Black children and creating a wealth culture inside your household, developing an institution, investing in your last name. Give me a yes if you are educating Black kids. Give me a yes if you're mentoring kids, maybe on a football team or community program. Give me a yes if you are building your own life. Give me a yes if you're developing a business. Give me a yes if you're creating jobs or hoping to do that at some point, or teaching your kids how to create jobs. Give me a yes. I want you to acknowledge this, because I need you to acknowledge yourself before you acknowledge the celebrities. So again, I'm not here to say this in an anti-celebrity way. What I'm saying is that you should not be following the celebrities. You should not be following the celebrities. You should not be following the celebrities. The celebrities should be following you. Do you understand? They should be following you, because you're building the schools, you're developing the businesses, you're building the infrastructure, you're down in the hood, you're doing the work, you're raising the kids, you're getting it done. Juiced Up Reese's building that business. You're my superheroes. You're the people I talk to because you sit down and you will do the damn work. I don't like celebrities that much sometimes, honestly. I don't dislike them. I just say, what are we doing here? Why are we on the phone right now? We got work to do, man. And now, if you're ready to sit down and do the work, then let's get it. Let's do it. But if you're just here, Russell Simmons was ready to do the work. That's why Russell was worth talking to on the phone. Ice Cube was ready to do the work. That's why I love talking to Ice Cube. Immortal Technique, another great rapper. He's ready to do the work. That's why I love talking to Immortal Technique. D1 is ready to do the work. That's why I love talking to Akila Nihonda is ready to do the work. That's why I love talking to Akila. Some of the rappers aren't really in the game like that. They're not ready. They're not where you are. That's what I'm saying. They're not to say they can't get there, but what I'm saying to you is pour into you. I saw Marlon Wayans said something really great where they said, why do you turn down the Jay-Z brunch? Everybody wants to go to the Jay-Z brunch. And he said, I don't need to go. He said, I like Jay, but he said, you should pour into your own legacy. Why are you pouring into his? Why are you trying to get attached to his legacy? That's what he's got going on. What do you have going on? And I said, that's what I'm talking about. That's called self-esteem, people. Self-esteem is when you say, you know what, I can sit here right by myself and I know that I got some of the most amazing stuff in the world going on right here in this chair. I ain't got to go chasing and trying to get connected and down and follow around this person, that person. And people who know who they are can pour into themselves and the people around them and know that you're already in the sweet spot. The gold is buried in your backyard, so you ain't got to go across the street, down the road, around the block, around the corner, chasing run around the whole world, chasing your own self-worth. That's what you're doing. That's what you're doing. So let's finish up on this point with the whole dinner with Jay-Z thing. I have a little bit of insight into Jay-Z, not because I know him. I don't know him, but I spent hundreds of hours with Damon Dash. Damon and I worked together so much that it was like we were almost like, honestly, like the odd couple, but we were almost like brothers. I would go to Dame's house and sit with him for hours. I knew Rocky, his fiance, and we hung out and would do stuff and talk. We were different, but there was respect, and I still love the guy. We just don't, honestly, we don't work as much together as we did back then. But that's another conversation. I'm never going to have that publicly because I respect this man. Jay-Z, in my view, would never have been Jay-Z if it was not for Damon Dash. Damon Dash, from my honest perspective, was the person that pushed Jay. He told me stories, a lot of stories about Jay-Z. And again, this was from his perspective, though, mind you, one-sided stories, of course. But he felt that Jay didn't even want to go on stage, and that he had to make Jay go on stage and show him how to carry himself on stage to be an artist. Now, again, I'm sure Jay would have a different story, but the other interesting thing about Jay-Z is that when they were trying to get, there's a business lesson here. I want y'all to follow this. This is not just a celebrity story. It's a business lesson. What I respected about Dame's vision is that when all the record labels would not sign Jay-Z, see, that's the thing. A lot of people don't know what they want until they see other people wanting it. Just like Colorado didn't want Coach Prime until he went to Jackson State and they saw how popular he was. And they said, oh, well, now we want him, right? Well, Jay-Z was the same way. Same guy. They all could have signed him for peanuts. They didn't want him, right? So Damon was the one who said, why should we wait for them when we've got us? Why should we look for their validation for you, Jay-Z, as a rapper when we validated you? The community has validated you. Your people around you have validated you. So stop waiting for the world to validate you. You actually can produce your own validation. This is why we have the Black Financial Therapy Department in the Black Business School, because one thing our therapists have talked extensively about is that there's something about racism that leads you to be born empty. You're empty of your validation and self-worth, so you turn right to your oppressor and you say, Massa, I need my self-worth. Tell me I am somebody. He says, okay, give me $100,000 and I'll give you a bachelor's degree, and then you can say you're a graduate of Duke University, and then give me the rest of your life. Give me 100,000 hours of labor and I'll let you come work in my corporation. Oh, and when you're a baby, I want your parents to send you to our public schools, and then we'll give you a degree from our public schools, and then you'll be somebody. And the truth is that you are somebody from the beginning. You know, the same validation that other people give you, you can give yourself. And the reason it's important to not import your validation is not only is that a security risk, because they can then attach things to that validation. This is how the U.S. engages in a lot of almost what you might call economic terrorism, right? If you wonder why we got all these people south of the border trying to get in the U.S., it's because the U.S. has used their economic power to control those countries and implement horrific policies and economic sanctions that have created unbelievable amounts of poverty and pain and suffering in those countries. That's what's going on. In case you wonder why all these Venezuelans are trying to get in, go study U.S. policy and you'll understand. Even the stuff happening in the Middle East, it's all connected to U.S. policy, but that's a whole nother conversation. So my point is to say that the same way they use their power, leverage, and their power and leverage to implement policies that can be harmful around the world, they do that in the Black community too. I mean, why would they do these things in Israel and Venezuela and not do them in their own backyard? So to some extent, your need for this external validation becomes a tremendous problem. It becomes an economic drain and a security risk because, number one, it costs you money to get your validation. A lot of people spend money to buy name brand products. Anybody know anybody like that? Anybody know anybody who must buy name brand this and name brand that? Why? Well, why do they buy it? Well, because it makes them feel better. It makes you, look at me, I got Gucci. Look at how many rappers you see, and not even just rappers, people who imitate the rappers, who will literally have Gucci, Louis, Prada, like all the luxury brands, like from head to toe, and will overpay for this stuff. And what are you buying? Well, you're buying your self-esteem. That's what you're buying. So that it's a security risk, and it's also a financial drain. Okay. And so with Jay-Z, just to close off on the Jay-Z conversation, and why I would never pay $500,000 for dinner with Jay-Z. I think that's crazy. I wouldn't even pay $50,000 for it, to be honest with you. But then again, I've been around a few more celebrities. So if you got the money and you want to burn it, then sure there's celebrities out there that'll gladly have a meal with you for whatever amount of money you want to pay. Is the last point to make here, and this is important to understand, there's another business lesson attached here, is as I mentioned to you, Damon Dash, I believe, was a big part of the reason Jay-Z became successful in the beginning, but as you know, they parted ways. And I understand, I can see why. I can honestly see why, because I feel like Jay was going to a different level in his career, or a different space in his career. Dame may not be a fit in that space. Damon is a great guy. He's fun to hang around, but there's some, I could easily see some spaces he's a great fit, some spaces he's not such a good fit, right? Now, with Jay, though, I'm willing to bet you that Jay-Z doesn't just, that Damon wasn't the only smart person Jay-Z talked to. You see, Jay-Z, this is something I believe that, and this is something you can actually pick up from successful artists, because remember, some of the successful artists become extraordinary businessmen in their own right. But one thing that I observed from both from watching Jay-Z and talking closely with Ice Cube is that these are guys who are smart enough to do something that every single person in this room needs to get in the habit of doing. They're smart enough to know what they don't know, and to know that they don't know what they don't know, right? So they know they know what they know. They know how to rap. That's what they do. You know, but then there's stuff they don't know. Like, I don't know, how do you make a movie? I'm making Boys in the Hood. How do I make a movie? Oh, I'm gonna talk to John Singleton, and he's gonna explain to me how to make a movie and how to write a script. So once I get done with Boys in the Hood working with Singleton, I'm gonna go make a movie called Friday, and I'm gonna keep the budget low by minimizing the number of locations for this film. It's gonna be two dudes on a porch doing relatable things that everybody in the hood's gonna enjoy, so I can get 50 million people to pay $10 to see Chris Tucker and Ice Cube, the straight guy and the funny guy, because that's a formula. That's a Hollywood formula. You know, and Debo, the, you know, in the hood villain Big Worm, and the crackhead, you know, all these things that people can relate to, and that's going to become this $100 million franchise. You understand? So I would say that if I were to pay money to talk to anybody, I wouldn't want to talk to Jay-Z. I would actually want to hang out with Jay-Z's team. Do you understand? I'm willing to bet you that if you were to ask Jay-Z, how are you making these major moves? How are you doing these amazing things? You're in sports and you're in this and you're in that. How's it happening? Well, he's going to point, if he's smart, he's going to point right to his team. Like, if you have people to talk to me, when people say, Dr. Boyce, how do you do this? How do you do this? How do you do? I'm like, I can't do all this by myself. Oh, let's talk to my team. I like my team a lot. And this goes back to something we talk about in our Black Millionaires of Tomorrow program for kids. Is we explain that your children should be taught the appropriate way to make money. And the model that we have is what we call STURDY, STERDY, not you, STERDY. It stands for Systems, Technology, Entrepreneurship, Relationships, and Delegation. And the Y stands for youth. I honestly didn't stand for anything, but whatever. It just makes more sense. It's better than stirred. Stir sounds like turd, right? So I said sturdy. There we go. All right. So systems means that people who tend to make lots of money, they tend to have a great system. They're not making money just with labor. They're not in a mindset that says, if I work 10 hours, I should be paid for 10 hours. You don't sell your time for money. Your time is too precious. You are too precious. You are too valuable. You're going to be dead soon. We're all going to be dead soon. So why would you spend or give away tens of thousands of hours to a corporation in exchange for just enough money for you to pay your bills? That's crazy, right? Or it happens, but it's not logical, to be honest with you. It's not a good long-term strategy. Number two, so once you go past systems, you got technology. Technology opens the door to create better systems and to scale those systems. And technology is not going away. AI is everywhere. In fact, if you text the word stock to 31996, I'll send you a list of AI stocks that I like. One of you asked about AIQ, which is a mutual fund with AI in it. I do still like AIQ. AIQ is a long-term play. And that's another thing about investing. Stop thinking that your stock is going to take off in a week. Stop thinking that it's supposed to shine in the next 6 months, or that if it hasn't done anything in the last year, that it clearly had to be a bad investment. That's not how investing works. You got to give most of these stocks sometimes 5 to 7 years before they really start to shine. Bitcoin is at 34,000 now. The value of the Bitcoin I bought at the beginning of this year has effectively doubled since I bought it. Right. So you got to give these things time. So systems, technology, entrepreneurship, that's the E. Entrepreneurship means that all of our kids, every Black child in America, needs to be trained on how to start a business, even if they never start one themselves, even if they never run one, even if it's just a side hustle. They need to have that, almost like when you get on a ship and they give you a lifeboat. You never send your child into the world without an economic lifeboat. What's their lifeboat? Or are you simply hoping that you can trust your oppressor enough that they're going to make sure that you have everything you need in order for you to be financially comfortable? Like, if you trust them enough, if you trust the same people that did the Tuskegee experiments and the same ones who enslaved you and the same ones who put so much poison in the food that everybody's getting cancer, if you trust them, then God bless you, because I don't. I want to have a plan B, plan C, plan D, plan E. I want to use the whole alphabet. Entrepreneurship is your child's plan B. That's their lifeboat. The R stands for relationships. One of the things that I would be willing to bet you that a leader, CEO type like a Jay-Z probably understands or has learned over time by running a business is that relationships are everything. Relationships are so important that you should be formally trained on how to build, how to maintain, and how to repair those relationships, because I can tell you this. I know a lot of business people and famous people, and the famous people who don't know how to properly manage relationships by respecting people, drawing appropriate boundaries, knowing who to trust, not to trust. Those people typically are not very successful. It's very, very hard to succeed at a high level when you're on an island, because then at that point, you actually become a little bit more like, I'm going to say it, but I know I shouldn't say it, but I got to say it. I think Umar Johnson's school would have been built years ago if Umar had better relationships with people, because I specifically saw people reaching out to try to help and wanted to be a part of it, and it just didn't happen, right? So ultimately, what I would say to you is that if you can't maintain relationships, then you're going to struggle. Hip hop, and this is another reason why talking to rappers can be very dangerous. Some of them is because there's such sort of a supersized ego thing that happens, and what it does is that damages relationships. If you ever want to have good relationships, never ever think that you're more important than the group. If you look at success models that exist out here, I'll point to some guys. I just saw 19 Keys and Wall Street Trapper doing a live stream together, collaborating, and I know both of those guys, and when I see them, we greet each other. We there's a lot of respect there, and I love what those guys do with Earn Your Leisure. What I love about Earn Your Leisure is they have a tremendous commitment to teamwork. And if you see what is happening, how they've been able to build this extraordinary franchise off of the teamwork, everybody working together and leveraging each other's brands. And like I said, I know every single one of these guys. I've done stuff with them, all this stuff. And that's an example of what happens when you work as a team. But when your ego so inflated that you think you're bigger and better than every team that you're ever on, then it's very, very difficult for you to be successful. So I think kids at an early age should be trained on this, not just hope that they figure it out. They should read books on it. There's therapy out there. They can show them these things. And then the D stands for delegation. People who tend to be very successful tend to be able to delegate things to other people. When you can delegate, you can get a lot more work done with less energy. This whole slave mindset of like, I'm going to work myself into an early grave by doing 15 hours a day and doing it all by myself. A lot of that's a product of, number one, not having the right relationships. Number two, not understanding the delegation process. Or number three, not being able to trust, not having trust issues. And guess what, Black people? Traumatized people. Let me ask you this. Do you think traumatized people have an easier time trusting others or a harder time? What do y'all think? Answer me in the chat. What do you think? Do you think that being traumatized, like so many Black people are, hint, I'm explaining to you why we decided to create a Black financial therapy department, because a lot of y'all need therapy and don't want to do it. And I'm just telling you, when you are traumatized like I was, I'm very high on the trauma scale. I took the ACEs test, ACES, Adverse Childhood Experiences test. I'm highly traumatized. So I learned the hard way that if I don't heal from that and I don't work on that, I'm not going to have the relationships I need to have in order for me to really reach my fullest potential. So what I want you to do is I want you to take that sturdy model. It's from the Black Business School. You won't see this anywhere else. STERDY, and take that to your kids, and just think about this as a framework. If your child is fully educated in those areas, they're probably not going to have any trouble making money. they're going to be super successful. They're going to they're going to understand teamwork. They're going to be great assets to the team. They're going to understand exactly how to get together, form a goal, work together, and accomplish all kinds of amazing things. And it'll be so much more effective than just one person trying to get a job and working themselves until they die at the age of 40 from a heart attack. Don't do that. All right. So anyway, so long story short, I would not pay $500,000 to eat dinner with Jay-Z, but fortunately 95% of you actually agree. I took a survey because I said I can't be the only one who's seeing this. Like, this is, even Jay-Z said, don't just you should probably take the money. And so but again, no disrespect to Jay-Z. I admire everything he's doing. I have a lot of respect for that, and I think that's important to acknowledge. All right. So now one thing I want to mention here is some of you may be here because you wanted a profit alert. I'm gonna tell you two stocks that I like right now, especially for this week. A lot of corporate earnings are being announced. I like Alphabet and Meta. Again, nothing's guaranteed, but these are two companies that a lot of analysts believe have a great likelihood of possibly passing or exceeding their earnings expectations. This is a big week for earnings. So far, so good. So far, it's looking good, but there are some kinks in the economy. There are some concerns. There are some problems that people are worried about. Now, if you want to be text whenever I have some insight on stocks or something, just text the word stock to 31996 and you can get the profit alerts. Also, I'll send you our $5 a day investing plan, and I'll send you our training on how to make money without working, and a lot of other free stuff from the Black Business School that doesn't cost you a thing. And also, if you want to educate your kids, if you go to drboycebooks.com, if you click on flashcards, we have a lot of different flashcards, like my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. We actually just created flashcards for kids to learn those principles. So if you have seen the book or like to take a look at the book, the reviews are very good. I know you guys would like it. You can go to drboycebooks.com. If you click on flashcards, we have 10 Commandments flashcards in there, as well as real estate flashcards, credit flashcards, things like that can help you teach your kids. And the book is also on Audible. You guys asked for it to be on Audible, so we had it put on Audible. Now, let me just tell you about Bitcoin. The reason Bitcoin is exploding right now is because there's been this push to get a Bitcoin ETF. And that ETF looks like it's going to go through at some point, and I believe that is a catalyst that isn't done running yet. Now, maybe you could wait till there's a slow day or a slow week and buy in. I'd be very, very careful, because I really think Bitcoin could be on its way toward a long-term spiral upward. Bitcoin has always been very impressive to me, because it did not fold in the middle of the absolute worst of the crypto winter. So if Bitcoin is doing that well when crypto is in the toilet, imagine how well Bitcoin's going to perform when everybody's buying crypto again. Remember, there are the loyalists in Bitcoin who will never sell. They're the HODL people, HODL. And hold on for dear life. That's what HODL stands for, HODL. And the HODL people aren't letting go of their Bitcoin, because they are absolutely positively committed to the idea that Bitcoin, that 34,000 is going to be seen as cheap in the next few years. Is that going to happen? For sure, I don't know, but I know I don't want to miss it. So I've been buying consistently pieces of Bitcoin. I don't have an overwhelming majority of my portfolio in any particular asset, but Bitcoin is one of those things that I've remained invested in. Also, there are some concerns right now with the economy showing a few little cracks. So right now the market's doing really well. Last time I checked, it was up 200-300 points this morning. I would be really careful about that, though, because there are people who believe, and even when I mentioned Alphabet and Meta, I mentioned them a little bit hesitantly, because there are some analysts who believe that those stocks could be overpriced. Now, the reason that those two still fit the profit alerts category for this week is because you may want to try some, or consider, again, I don't give investing advice, but you may want to try some very low cost, out of the money call options in case they break their earnings announcements. But be fully prepared for the fact that they may not exceed their earnings expectations. And that's what happens. It's not a question of whether or not the company is going to make money. Everybody knows Alphabet's going to make billions, and Meta is going to make billions. The question is, are they going to make more than they're expected to make? That's what causes the stock price to pop. But there are some people who believe that the multiples of these stocks are so high, as with many tech stocks, that they're what they call price to perfection. They're priced so high that these companies almost have to be perfect in order for them to to be, for them to actually, to be worth the investment. I don't agree with that though. I think with AI and the potential of AI, I saw a professor from Penn. I don't know why I can't, his name isn't in my head right now, but basically I like him. Jeremy Siegel from Wharton, that's his name. And he's a nice, friendly old man. And he was basically saying that AI is already showing productivity enhancements throughout the economy. That AI is already, companies are already making higher profits because of AI. They're already letting people go because of AI. So if I were you, I would strongly consider adding AI knowledge and understanding to my sort of daily routine, so you don't sort of fall behind. Because what AI is also going to do is AI is going to create a wealth gap, a bigger wealth gap. There's going to be a gap between the no's and the no-nots, and the haves and the have-nots, and it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I want you to be on the right side of that gap. So you may want to get some AI knowledge consistently, and also make sure your kids understand it as well. And I mean, I can't wait. I'm just curious to see what happens once they start putting AI inside robots and all that. It's going to be kind of a scary world, but it's life. Progress is coming. Now, what I want to do is answer a few questions that you guys have in the chat. And just so you know, those are in the stock market class. We are going to move everything over to B1 Nation. And so if you want to join our social media platform, just go to b1nation.us. We're going to start doing a lot more over there. And so I'll type that URL in. It's b1nation.us. And so that's kind of where, also, if you went to the All Black National Convention, that's where we're going to continue the convention. We're going to bring all the speakers, all the experts back in. We had a lot of great speakers there. We had women's panels and panels on relationships and experts on everything from estate planning to crypto to all kinds of stuff. And so we're going to finish a lot of that on B1 Nation. So feel free to go there. And Shauna is thank you, Shauna, for putting the link in there. I appreciate that very much. All right. So let's see. Kevin says, what are your thoughts on diversification? Is QQQ diversified? What are your 5 favorite sectors to invest? Well, let's start with your question about QQQ. Okay, so QQQ, I'm going to look up QQQ and tell you what's in QQQ. So QQQ is Invesco. It tracks a modified market cap weighted index of 100 NASDAQ listed stocks. So what that means is that if you buy one share of QQQ, you're literally buying a piece of 100 companies. So remember when I was telling you guys with the diversification, you have to own different stocks, but that doesn't mean you have to buy different stocks, right? You can own different stocks without buying more than 1 or 2 assets. Like I was talking to our daughter the other day about mutual funds. And I said, yeah, if you pick one mutual fund, like if you pick VOO from Vanguard or something, you don't have to buy a bunch of other stocks. You could just consistently put money in the Vanguard fund, and that would give you pretty good diversification. So QQQ is pretty well diversified. Now it's specifically NASDAQ, and the top 10 holdings of QQQ. So these are companies that are great companies, right? Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, NVIDIA, Meta, Alphabet, Broadcom, Tesla, Adobe. You can't go wrong with companies like that. Those companies will always know how to make money. And remember, I told you guys that that's the goal, right? The goal is, in terms of surviving in a changing economy, is to hitch your wagon to the people that are always going to be able to figure it out. Hitch your wagon to the smartest people. Let's go back to when we were talking about Jay-Z earlier. Jay-Z knows he's successful because he hitched his wagon to people that can make him successful. Right. So hitch your wagon, invest in these companies consistently. And Apple is never going to forget how to sell iPhones. NVIDIA isn't going to forget how to make microchips. Meta is never going to go broke. Adobe is going to be fine financially. So if my financial outcomes are tied to Adobe and Meta and Amazon and Apple, then I'm probably going to be okay on some level. All right. Let's see. What are my 5 favorite sectors? I don't really have favoritism when it comes to sectors. I would say sectors I don't invest in as much, probably things like oil, but I like real estate. I like some banking. What else? Tech. I love tech. Tech is fun. And I just try to mix it up, so there's the services sector, put things there, utilities, stuff like that. I honestly don't really know if I have a favorite sector. I think I have favorite activities when it comes to investing. Like I don't tend to invest in a lot of bonds, even though I should probably change that habit because bond yields are just so high now. I think that should be considered part of the portfolio. And so I tend to like stocks and real estate a lot more. Um, I'm switching some of my real estate investments over to things like real estate investment trusts because I'm finding I don't know how much I enjoy being a landlord, right? And there's other ways to get exposed to the capital gains and the cash flow from real estate. Like for example, what we do in our Prime program is built specifically on generating cash flow, like income, like a paycheck. So, and if you want to take a look at that, just go to drboyceprime.com, drboyceprime.com. All right, so let's see here. Ronnie David, I met Ronnie at the convention. Man, I enjoy talking to you, Ronnie. Ronnie is at Queens Technical High School, and he teaches kids about wealth and investing. And I told him the kids, and I need y'all to all hear this. I really hope you'll hear me when I say this. When you're learning this type of stuff and you're like 16 years old, 17, you have such a head start. Like I just really don't know. I think maybe we're used to Black people just being behind and us being like always struggling and always catching up to everybody else. You're not catching up to anybody now. They're catching up to you. A lot of college graduates from top universities don't know this stuff, and they don't learn it until they're 45 years old, right? So when you're learning this, when you're sitting here and he's bringing his students to class every Tuesday, he doesn't understand. I said, in 30 years, when some of these kids are multimillionaires and they're getting lifetime achievement awards, they're going to talk about their teacher at Queens Technical High School. And so Deion Sanders, again, one of my favorite players. I have to keep saying that because people think I don't like him because I tell the truth about the Colorado thing, but I like Deion. Deion says something to his sons that I love. He tells his son Shador, be legendary, be legendary. And so I repeat that to all of you in here. Like when it comes to those kids, you have a chance to be legendary. Like my grandma's legendary. That's why she's the panther behind my head. She's legendary. Like millions of people now who know my grandmother, Felicia, because of little things my grandmother did to pour basic economic knowledge into me when I was a child that shaped my whole existence. So what I'm saying to all of you is when it comes to those little kids around you, be legendary, be intentionally legendary, right? Like don't let their success happen by accident. Let it happen because you plan for it, and this is what powerful, successful families do. Donald Trump, yeah, he's a prick, right? Or whatever. You don't have to vote for him or not vote. I don't care if you voted for him, but you cannot deny that this man has had an impact, right? And a lot of it was very deliberate. Bill Clinton and their family, same thing. The Obamas, same thing. It's a lot of power and wealth in this country is intentional wealth, right? So you don't sort of stumble your way into greatness, right? So be intentional, introduce the kids to these ideas. I told Ronnie, I said, man, I didn't even meet a Black college professor until I was 19 years old. And I thought he was the janitor. He walked out of the professor's office. I said, where's the couldn't even fathom the idea of a Black man being a professor. So I think that what he's doing is very important. And I see Ronnie's students got jokes. I'm looking at your question. He said, my students would like to know if you have a course on dancing to the stanky leg. And see, now I take back everything I said. I was giving y'all props, and now y'all in here hating on my extraordinary dancing ability. Yeah, I was doing the stanky leg I was dancing with my daughter. See, what had happened was I was dancing with my daughter. She was showing me how to do the dances, and I can't dance. So I was doing what she told me to do. So we started doing the stanky leg. So now hopefully the video won't be released, but I'm sure it'll get on the internet and people will make fun of me. Anyway, let me keep going here. All right. So Rarick. So yeah, at the convention, we have a lot of fun. So if you guys want to, just know it's not serious all the time. You got to sometimes take a break and do a little stanky leg. All right. All right. So Rarick says, if I have one share of VOO and one share of Alphabet, and if everything's good in the stock market, will it give you back more money? Well, what I would say, let's talk about VOO, right? And what's in it and what you're buying if you buy VOO. That's the Vanguard S&P 500 ETF. It's passively managed to hold large cap U.S. stocks selected by an S&P committee. The listed name the ticker is VOO. The top 10 holdings are Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Nvidia, Alphabet, Tesla, Meta, Exxon, and Berkshire Hathaway. Now, one thing you'll notice is that a lot of these big funds, like if you recall, QQQ was very similar. A lot of the same assets that were in QQQ were also in VOO. And this is the interesting thing about where money moves in this country is a lot of the money gets poured into the same places, right? And so a part of the reason some of these companies at the top of the S&P are so valuable is because when they get into the S&P, everybody starts buying them. All the fund managers start buying because everybody buys it. So there's one of my dissertation committee members, his name was David Hirschleifer. He used to write about what he called the herding effect in investing in wealth. And I'm wondering what he would say about this, because basically people just follow the crowd, honestly, at all levels. And I don't know, sometimes that's not healthy. Sometimes the crowd is wrong. But in this particular case, a lot of these companies, the reason Tesla, for example, wanted to be in the S&P 500 so bad is that Elon Musk knew if they got into the S&P 500, they would instantly he would instantly make another $20 billion or something, right? Because their value would automatically go up. And so this is part of how the game is rigged. But if you own one share of VOO and one share of Alphabet, you would be well diversified, Rarick. I think with your question, let's see, everything's going good in the stock market. Will one give you back more money? Well, it's not so much about one doing one thing or the other. It's more about if the whole market's doing good, both of those companies will probably do pretty good. Now, the difference though with Alphabet is that that's one company. That's so VOO is like a soup where you've got 500 different ingredients in the soup, whereas Alphabet is like eating a carrot or eating lettuce, right? Lettuce is good for you, but it's not the same as eating a whole salad or eating a whole soup. You understand? So it's not so much that one or the other would automatically impact the other, but if the whole market's doing well, there's a good chance both of them could end up doing well. Let's see, is Prime or the Black Stock Market meeting today or tomorrow? Well, the Black Stock Market program, we meet every Tuesday, and Prime is going to meet this week. So it will be on Zoom. So good question. Born to be at. You will get an email from me. So if you're in the Prime program, you'll get an email and a text from me within the next 24 hours for our next meeting. So yes, we will be meeting soon. And if you want to just log in and go through some of the stuff, remember everything that we do in class is recorded and saved. So if you go to drboyceprime.com, you can see everything that's in there, or you can log in at theblackbusinessschool.com, whichever one you want to do, and go in there and grab everything that you want to grab and take a look at all that stuff. Like all that stuff is in there. And I'm going to do another stock options training camp pretty soon for those that are new. But if you just want to go through the one I did last time, I record and keep everything in there. So there's plenty of stuff for you to do in between classes, but also we are going to have a live class soon. So you'll hear from me in the next 24 hours. I just have to finish cleaning up from the convention a little bit. Robinhood or Ameritrade, which one is becoming Schwab? I didn't know that. Let me see. Let me search Robinhood, Schwab. I mean, is there a merger happening? I have not heard anything like that. Let me see here. Okay, not Robinhood, because I'm sure it would be an article. Let's see, Ameritrade. There must be Ameritrade. Ameritrade Schwab merger. Look at that. Okay, that's that autocomplete again. Okay, wait. August 10th, or it has an article says what's happening to TD Ameritrade. Did they already merge? Let me see. At the end of 2020, Charles Schwab completed its acquisition of TD Ameritrade. Okay, so they're already connected. This means big changes for customers, blah, blah, blah. What investors need to know: while most of it will happen behind the scenes, there will be some impacts to existing clients' accounts along with new service offerings. Schwab investors can kick back and relax. There will be no direct changes to their accounts. Over time, enhanced client experiences will be available to Schwab clients, including TD Ameritrade's popular Thinkorswim trading platform. TD Ameritrade customers will be much more impacted by the merger. All TD Ameritrade clients will have their accounts completely migrated to Schwab's platform. Okay, so that's what happened before, and this article was written August 10th, so that's a month, 2 months ago. And so so it looks to me like the Schwab customers are going to have a similar experience, slightly enhanced, right? Because they have access to what TD Ameritrade already had in place, like the Thinkorswim platform. The Ameritrade clients are being moved over to the Schwab platform. So there we go. And in case you want to know what I think about Charles Schwab as a broker, I like them. They're just good, high quality, very high quality. One of my favorite real estate investment trusts. I don't have any favorite real estate investment trusts, Vanita, but if you go in and you log in at the blackstockmarketprogram.com, you will see that section, what Dr. Boyce is buying, and you can look through there. I have a few REITs that I listed. There's a lot of stuff in there. Just go under what Dr. Boyce is buying at theblackstockmarketprogram.com, and you'll see all that stuff in there. So that's all part of your curriculum material. Okay, so in general, let me give you a couple more quick overviews on the economy, and then we can we'll call it a day. So let's see here. So the other things you may want to think about is, speaking of real estate, there are some signs that real estate could be struggling in the near future. A lot of this higher interest rate issue is going to have a huge impact on the economy. There are many people that are deeply concerned about what real estate or what interest rates are going to do to the ability of commercial real estate companies to get the funding they need, as well as even some multifamily. And then in addition to that, I did see something recently where there has been an increase in the number of bankruptcies recently. And the main thing I'm gathering that's really keeping the economy strong right now is pretty much consumer spending. It's really you and I, like as consumers, we're the ones that are keeping the economy from kind of going crazy and crashing. And so that's eventually going to give. At some point, the consumer is going to get tired, and the economy is going to start to sink a little bit, and there are going to be some holes in the economic system. But that's not something to be alarmed about. It's not the end of the world. What's probably going to occur then is that the Fed is going to do something that could actually boost your stocks. Remember, the stock market does not run in sync with the economy. So if you are a stock market investor, you know, an economic downturn doesn't mean your stocks are going to all go to crap. They could drop, though. Don't get me wrong, but it doesn't. They're not always deeply connected. What's probably going to occur, though, is that the minute the Fed feels that there are cracks in the economy, what they may end up doing is they may definitely stop increasing interest rates, but then they may actually start reducing interest rates. When they announce they're going to reduce interest rates, at that moment, you'll probably see a massive increase in the stock market, because all the valuation models point to higher prices when interest rates are lower. So when interest rates got super high, stocks just took a hammering. I mean, I think all through last year, 2022 was a tough year to be an investor. So I would sort of process that a little bit. Now let's see here. I'm very concerned that you need to do a live about this new law with the IRS under CTA. I have to look that up. But yeah, in class, let's bring that up because I think that's a good point. So just so you know, on b1nation.us, we'll have a stock market group soon. We already have a B1 online group. So if you came to the convention and you want to keep that going, then I'll send you, actually text the word stock to 31996. At some point, I'll send you guys the link this week to join B1 online, where we're going to bring in all our experts and stuff like that. And you can bring questions directly to me. I'll do a lot of Q&As there and stuff like that. What's going on with OTLK? What is OTLK? Let me see what company that is. OTLK. OTLK is Outlook Therapeutics. Oh yeah, that one did really well. So typically when a pharmaceutical company blasts off like that, it's because there's some trial that they were doing, like they were testing some drug and the FDA approved it. And with these FDA approvals, some of these pharmaceutical companies can really like double and triple your money very quickly. But if the clinical trials don't succeed, then you can lose, 80% of your investment overnight. So they have a lot of what is called jump risks, and jump risk is the risk that the stock is going to jump just from 50 to 70 or 70 to 20 or whatever. So jump risk can work up and work down. And I think OTLK, I believe Outlook Therapeutics is one of the stocks that I did recommend to you guys, because I know some of you came back to me and told me that the stock did really well. So congratulations if you made money on that. But just know everything that you invest in is not going to work. I want to remind you that being an investor is not some sort of easy financial paradise where everything's always going to be great. But at the same time, if you are intelligent and consistent and patient with your investing strategy and think things through, it can really work for you. A lot of you that are in the Prime program, I saw Errol and his lovely fiance, a girlfriend. I don't want to say it wrong, Errol, but I don't think she was your wife, but it's okay. Not that I'm judging. But anyway, I saw Errol and some others at the convention, and I talked to a lot of you that are in the Prime program, and I was really happy to hear that a lot of you are very happy in terms of where your income layout is. And I heard Errol explaining to other students how he uses the wheel strategy to generate consistent income with his assets. And I see Pacola's in here too. So ultimately, long story short, there are ways to do this, right? So if you guys want to join the Prime program, want to take a look at what we're doing, just go to drboyceprime.com. The price to join is set. There's a monthly fee and there's an annual fee. You can actually get the A, B, and C discount, which would be $155 per month, or $875 for the year or something like that. That price will go up. That's a temporary discount, deep discounted price. And we have enough students in that program. We have actually almost too many. So we only have a few more slots available. So if you want to go take a look, just go to drboyceprime.com. You're welcome to participate and join. And as with everything else in the Black Business School, you guys know there's a 30-day, 100% money back guarantee if you're unhappy for any reason. So we will make sure that you're happy. If you're not happy, we'll give you a refund. We'll make sure you're good. Okay. All right. There's no risk at all to you whatsoever. All right. So last question here. Rarick says, long term, what will give you back more money, ETFs or individual stocks? You know what, Rarick? There's no rule for that. Individual stocks just move differently from ETFs. What an ETF is ETFs are a collection of different assets that are all sort of pulled together as one thing you can buy. Okay. So an ETF it consists of multiple stocks. So what happens when you have multiple assets tied into one, you have less volatility, you have less up and down, whereas individual stocks have a lot that can be very chaotic. It's what they call two types of risks. They have systematic risk and idiosyncratic risk. We talked about that in class, but briefly, it's like imagine if you have boats on water. Right. So systematic risk is like the water. So if there's a big wave that comes through, like a tsunami, all the boats are going to be affected by the tsunami. Right. That's systematic risk. Right. Systematic risk is risk that the whole economy could just go to crap, or a war starts somewhere and that causes stock prices to drop, or the president gets sick or something. That's big. That doesn't have to do with any individual company. That's broad and systematic. ETFs tend to react more to systematic risk, right? They don't tend to react to idiosyncratic company-specific risk. Now, idiosyncratic risk, company-specific risk, is risk related specifically to that one company, right? So if you have, when that big tsunami comes through, the fact that all the boats are different, that's the idiosyncratic part, right? Some boats are big, some boats are small. They're going to be affected differently. Some boats are headed north, some boats are headed east, some west, some south. That's going to affect them differently. Some boats have really experienced captains. Some boats have really bad captains, right? That's going to, so how each boat reacts to the systematic effect, the big picture, how each boat reacts differently to the tsunami, that's idiosyncratic risk. Those are the individual specific variables that determine how each individual asset will respond differently to a broader economic event. Okay. So individual stocks have a lot of idiosyncratic risk, but that's actually what in finance, that's what we call inefficient risk. That's why we tell you to diversify. If you recall, the first rule I said with investing is don't put all your eggs in one basket. So if I had a choice, if somebody said, Boyce, you got a choice, you can either, and you're investing money for your family, you have a choice. You can either put all your money in one stock, or you can buy this ETF that's going to have exposure to 20 or 30 or 40 stocks. Which do you think I'm going to pick? If this is my safe money, this is my financial security at stake, this is my kids' money, this is my wife's money, which one do you think, on average, I'm going to want? The individual stock or the ETF? I'm going to give you a second to answer. The ETF. Exactly. Because the ETF, if my financial security is on the line, I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket, right? So in terms of which one pays you the most, Rarick, there is no rule. If you know, sure, if you buy it, if it's like if I go to Vegas and I put my rent money on black, I might come home with double my money, but I might also come home with nothing. You understand? So I'm not taking my family money to Vegas. I take my extra money to Vegas that I don't care about losing. You understand? So just keep that in mind. All right. Let's see. A couple more questions. Do you still like POTX? POTX, is that a Natasha, that sounds like some sort of mutual fund that invests in cannabis. Let me see. POTX. Yeah, it's a cannabis ETF. Do I like it? Yeah. Yeah, I like it as a long-term investment because I feel like and it's been going down a lot, but I still feel like diversified investment in cannabis could be a long-term win. The problem is whether or not these companies that are in Pot X are going to do well themselves. But I still hold this belief that at some point weed will be legalized. And when it does, a lot of people are going to make money. Last question. Would Tupperware be a good stock to sell covered calls on? Seen it on the moneymaker list. Yeah, Tupperware. Yeah, you're okay. So you're talking about from Prime Class. Yeah. Tupperware is a tough one because it's only $1.57, right? So these really cheap stocks, they're fun because they don't cost much. And if they shoot up even a little bit, you can make a lot of money. But remember, there's a reason this stock has dropped 95% in the last 5 years. And it's dropped 78% this year. This is a struggling company. This is a company that is losing money. It's very dangerous to invest in a company that's losing money in this economy, because what's the only way? Think about this. If a company is losing money, how can they survive? Think about your own life. Would you be able to live and survive if you were spending more than you make? Like what if you were making 50K and you were spending 80? And let's say you had no savings and no investments. Would you survive very long? No, you'd be screwed, right? Absolutely, you'd be screwed. So the only people that can really do that, like spend more than they make and be okay, are people who are getting help from somebody else. Like our kids can do that. Our kids, they cost, maybe 40,000 a year each or something, and they don't make any money. Their income is zero, but their expenses are 40K. But how can they survive? Well, because they got the bank of mommy and daddy that's paying all the bills. But what happens if the bank decides they don't want to pay the bills no more? They're done. They're in trouble. And we wouldn't do that to our 12-year-old, our 13-year-old, and our 16-year-old, but we did it to our 20-year-old. And that was a shock for him, right? He had a really hard time adjusting to that, right? And we still help him, he's in school and stuff. But you get my point. These companies, many of these companies that have survived in the last 10, 15 years and seem to have done well, they were living off the bank of mommy and daddy. There was some bank that was giving them capital that allowed them to survive even though they were losing money. And this is an important topic to be brought up in the convention. We talked about this on our reparations panel. One of the greatest challenges with economic inequality is that Black businesses don't get access to capital that give you that same white privilege of being able to operate for 5, 6, 7 years while losing $20 million a year. Most of you can't even imagine having a business where you've been losing 10, 20, $30 million a year, but you've been in business for years, right? And how are they in business? Well, because the bank says, here, we'll keep loaning you money because we believe. This is where things like trust and confidence come into play. These are the origins for our Black financial therapy department, because traumatized people don't have trust, which means, and if you don't have trust, that means I don't have confidence in your business. Which, if I don't have confidence in your business, I'm not going to invest in your business. I'm not going to support you because I don't believe you're going to succeed, right? So again, these are therapeutic issues that we've been addressing to build the Black economy. You can't have an economy without confidence. Somebody has to feel confident enough to say, I'm going to throw millions of dollars at you and hope that one day you'll find the money to pay me back. That's very risky to do, very hard to do. So what occurred was before, it may be up until about 2022, banks were able to do that because money was very cheap. Well, when inflation got out of control, the Federal Reserve started increasing interest rates. So money was no longer cheap anymore. All an interest rate is it's like a rental fee, like when you get a rental car and you pay a rental fee to rent the car. Well, an interest rate is kind of like a rental fee on money. So they increased the price of money. So now banks are either charging you more for your money. So that means, okay, you can have time, but time's going to really cost you now. Yeah, we'll give you that extra 10 million, but instead of it being at 1% interest, you're going to pay 9%, right? Which is really going to hit your bottom line hard. But then it's gotten even worse to the point where a lot of banks are saying, we don't want to do it at all, right? That in fact, that if you want to know just on a personal level, that was one of the challenges we ran into with the All Black National Convention. Usually when we had a cash shortfall or there was something that we couldn't pay for right away, we could go to our bank would loan us the money and we would be fine, and then we pay them back after. Well, this time the banks were like, we don't have the money this time. And we're like, wait a minute, our credit's good. We pay everybody back. We borrowed from you many times and it's always been fine. Well, because the economy's different. It's a different economy. So what does that mean for Tupperware? Well, Tupperware is one of those companies, from what I'm looking at, the analytics I'm seeing, I'm not an expert on this company, but I'm seeing this as a company that is not able to survive under its own financial power, which means companies like Tupperware are in danger because there are some people that even would say that that company shouldn't even exist. So I would be concerned if I'm an investor in Tupperware, this company could end up declaring bankruptcy like Bed Bath & Beyond or whatever. Bankruptcies are on the rise, and because Mommy and Daddy Bank have pulled back. And so to some extent, it's a bad thing, right? Because companies disappear and jobs disappear and all that. But on the other hand, it's kind of a good thing because some would argue that these companies should not have been allowed to exist in the first place. These are what they call zombie companies. They call them zombie companies when you have companies that aren't even able to really make much of a profit, but somehow they're still able to stay in business because somebody was willing to loan them so much money. So just understand this, that when we talk about topics like reparations and economic racism, we're not just talking about like the differences in salaries or just the racial wealth gap. We're also talking about other deeper things like access to capital. Just the fact that it's very difficult for a Black business owner to go and borrow $2 million to get their business off the ground. You damn near have to have a stellar, perfect, amazing, extraordinary business to get that 2 million if you're Black. Whereas I've seen a lot of questionable, mediocre companies go to Silicon Valley and raise 20 million and not even have made a penny in revenue, right? This is unfair. And this is important because when you look at the history of major corporations in America, like Walmart, Sam Walton, that company almost folded. Y'all don't know that. Walmart almost folded. Sam Walton needed another 1.5 million and his bank would not loan him the money because they said, we've loaned you so much and you're not making enough money. He had to keep asking around, but eventually he found a bank that gave him the 1.5 million. If they had not given him that 1.5 million, Walmart would not exist. So the question I ask you, and I want you to carry this question away with you, we're done for today, is imagine how many thousands of Black businesses were never born or died young because the founder could not go get a loan. And think about how many trillions of dollars in Black wealth was lost because those powerful businesses that would have become multi-billion-dollar entities that would have created the Black Elon Musk and the Black Jeff Bezos and the Black Mark Zuckerbergs, how many of those businesses never came to be? That's what I want you to process. I want you to be able to see that. That's in economics, we call that the opportunity cost. This is me helping you with your economic vision, right? Part of having that vision means being able to see things that other people can't see. And I want you to be able to see the things that never existed, right? To understand that you didn't just lose the things that you saw yourself lose, or that you didn't just lose the things that you had. You also lost all the things that you never had that you would have had things been different. Do you understand? I hope that makes sense. I know that sounds weird. I don't want to sound too much like a hippie today, but I hope that point helps you understand how this economy works. Okay, guys, I'm going to go. So it was a pleasure seeing you. I hope that you gained something from this discussion today. Also, quick reminders. Number one, If you still want to get the discount on next year's All Black National Convention, we are going to be in Chicago. You can get 50% off on all the passes, all the vendor spots, everything. Just go to allblacknationalconvention.com, and that's going to be there for, I think, for this week. And after that, it goes back to the regular price. And like I said, next year we will sell out. We've already structured it that way because we don't want too many people there. To be honest with you, we kind of like the intimacy of it. Number two, if you want to take a look at the flashcards for kids, just go to drboycebooks.com, click on flashcards. You can find it there. Also, if you want me to send you copies of my book or autographed copies or anything like that, or any copies of my wife's books, just use that search box. You can look up Boyce, you can look up Alicia. It's all kinds of stuff is there on drboycebooks.com. All right. And then last but not least, b1nation.us. That's our social media platform. The number one nation.us. I'm going to be hanging out there today. So if you want to send me a note and we can talk and stuff like that, just feel free to join us over at b1nation.us. All right. So thank you guys. It was awesome. It was real. And I love you. I love you so much. And I would look forward to talking to you soon.